welcome back to part 2 of Ask the King for May 5th, 2011. Let's get right into it because I have 2 pages of questions to get through. Whew, okay. First question. Hey Phil, I've noticed that you have not tried out any of the Kinect games recently. Dance Central was one of the most hilarious videos ever, and just seeing you moving in real time is even more hilarious. Is it your back injury that's limiting you from doing this? Thanks for your reply. Solid Snake. That's from Solid Snake. First of all, my question is, what the hell Kinect games are you talking about? No Kinect games have been coming out. That's the problem. There really have not been any major releases for the Kinect, and even Xbox Magazine admitted this. I was reading an article in it saying, wow, what's with the lack of Kinect games since the release of the console? Now, on the flip side of this, there are going to be some really good, supposedly really good Kinect games coming up later this year. There's going to be supposedly a survival horror one, a western shooter. There's even supposed to be some kind of like an action shooter game. And we'll see what happens when those come out, if their release dates are ever announced. Who knows? But right now, those games are only in development. They're not actually, they don't have release dates or anything. But yeah, bottom line is, since the Kinect came out, there really has not been a lot to play. And the only game that I would even consider going back to playing right now is Dance Central, but I really didn't feel like there was any need to do that. And in addition to that, right now, because of the way that my partnership's working with Machinima, it would be kind of hard to do that because it has copyrighted music in it, and although it is legal to do it, it might be a potential issue of dispute with YouTube, having copyrighted music on a video with ads on it. So really right now I'm not looking to go back and do that kind of game. But if there are good games that come out for Kinect later in the year, I'll play them. I'm just waiting for them. I'm like, where are they? Here we are 5 months into the year. Name one major Kinect release, because there have been 0. Pretty much Microsoft sold all these Kinect and then never made any new games for it, which is fucked up. Okay, next question. Dear Phil, as you prompted in your recent channel update, I, along with many others, want to get exposure on YouTube, and I recently made a YouTube channel that has technology reviews, and I have my own website. So here's my question. Do you have any tips to get yourself more exposure on YouTube than your competition? If so, what kind of exposure did you use? Whether it was uploading a ton of videos, advertising yourself, etc. Many thanks, and that's from Beachy. I'm going to do a dick move here, and I'm going to say if you want to hear about that kind of stuff, you should come to Too Many Games, and later on this year, if I attend other conventions, you should go to those, because that's where I'll be talking about that kind of stuff. Now don't worry, because if these questions come up at the convention, I am going to be recording the Q&A session at the Too Many Games convention, so if you want to hear about this kind of stuff, I hope these questions come up. This is the kind of stuff I really feel that like a panel is open to. Ask me questions about how YouTube works. Ask me how I became popular. Ask me what steps I used, why I think it worked, and why it worked for me and not for other people who were trying to do similar things, etc. So, good question. We'll get to it eventually. Hopefully someone will ask it this weekend. I know that's a dick move. Next question is from Fly666Monkey. And he says, how do you think the current fiasco with PSN getting hacked is going to affect Sony in both the short and long term, and what do you think it will mean for us gamers? Well, I hate to say this, but if you really want my honest opinion, my honest, true-to-God opinion about what I think is going to happen with Sony and the PlayStation 3, I think it's done. I think that console, you could stick a fork in it, it's gone. I don't think that any person in their right mind would choose the PlayStation 3 over the Xbox 360 if they're planning on ever going online with their console. Now, there's still going to be a market for it. People who want the best Blu-ray player on the market can get a PlayStation 3. People who want a gaming console just for offline gameplay and maybe want the Blu-ray features will get the PlayStation 3. But no one in their right fucking mind would buy that to play online games. Sony has now lost the gamer's trust. It's that simple. When you sign the terms and conditions agreement, the EULA, or whatever the hell it is that this is, the contract, when you sign on to an online service, whether it's Xbox Live, whether it's PSN, that is an agreement of trust between you and the company that you will not violate their terms, and they're going to take your personal information and keep it safe. A lot of people have been saying to me, Phil, why are you so harsh on Sony? It's the hackers' fault. Absolutely, 1,000,000% correct. But the problem is there's always going to be an asshole. There's always going to be a hacker. There's always going to be a thief who's looking to ruin your life and steal from you and find the easy way and get something for nothing. So you have to have defense against it. Sony's defenses were weak at best. They were pathetic. They crumbled under this guy's, the hacker. Whether it was anonymous or not, I don't care, okay? I don't care who was responsible. The bottom line is Sony should be prepared for this kind of thing. And they were not, and everything was compromised, and now all of our identities are at risk because of Sony. I could not see someone willingly putting down $300 of their hard-earned money and saying, here's $300, thanks for losing 77 million people's personal information, and I'm going to buy your console. It's over. I really think Sony has now completely fucked themselves 7 ways from Tuesday. Like, I don't see anyone buying that console unless they have the specific reasoning of I want to use it as a Blu-ray player or I want to use it as an offline game console and I'm never going online. Think of it this way. All the parents who bought those for their kids, they're going apeshit right now because their personal information, their credit card information is more than likely what was input into the PlayStation Network. So no parent in their right mind will ever buy that console again for their kid, and that's a large demographic of purchasers. I'm sorry, but Sony, you're done. You are officially done. You've been struggling and struggling to catch up with the Xbox 360 for years. Then you finally did. Over the past couple of years, in sales-wise, you did catch up with the Xbox 360 hardware-wise. You never caught up software-wise, but you did catch up hardware-wise. And it was coming to the point where if you were to try to have these fanboy console wars that really neither side could win because each console had its pros and cons. But this con is the biggest possible fucking con you could ever have for your console. Sony's done. Stick a fork in them. PlayStation 3's toast. I'm sorry to say it, but that's my honest opinion. I will continue to buy PlayStation 3 games, PlayStation 3 exclusive games, and I already had my personal information on there and it was compromised. I mean, people already know where, my name, you could find my address, all that stuff is public, I've never really made it private. So that to me wasn't a big deal. My credit card information luckily wasn't valid. Will I ever willingly put my credit card information into PlayStation Network again? I don't know. I'm very skeptical now. Because I can tell you this, once one hacker gets in, that just opens the floodgates for everyone else. They say, well, if he could do it, I could do it. So now PlayStation Network, regardless if they're rebuilding it from the ground up, will always be under constant attack from hackers. And I don't know if even I could trust them with my credit card or anything like that. So, sorry Sony, you fucked up. It's over. Throw in the towel. Accept defeat. You're going to have to make a new console. That's really what I think. They're going to have to make a new console now. And, and somehow prove themselves to everyone that they're more secure. I don't know what else to say. I feel bad, but they fucked up. Alright, dear DSP, recently I've been thinking about how you said that you went to college for finance, and while the other popular YouTubers are sucking money from YouTube just because they have enough viewer base, the one thing they don't have is a magazine. I was simply wondering if in the future, if you decided to do something new and you had enough money, would you ever think about starting your own print magazine? To all gamers on all gaming consoles, giving your honest opinions and hopes for the future of gaming and current games being developed. In regards, Rikamaru. It's an interesting concept. Unfortunately, the bottom line is this: print is dead. Print really is dead. There's no... These companies that are still making these magazines are struggling, like seriously struggling to stay afloat. If you take a look at most magazines now, even gaming magazines, half the magazine is ads, which is so fucking annoying. And they're all very short magazines. I would never consider doing a print format magazine. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't consider doing a gaming website or a gaming style news website. That might be something interesting to think about in the future because, as you know, I don't work for anyone. So when I'm going to give you news and when I'm going to give you updates, it's going to be honest opinions and things like that. The problem is I'd probably have a very hard time getting advanced copies of games to try out, demos, stuff like that. So my stuff would literally be like, alright, the game's out, now I'm playing it, now I'm playing the game, now I can give my review, as opposed to these other companies who get advanced copies and can give you advanced reviews. So, another good idea, and I'll keep it on the back burner, I'll keep it in the back of my head, something interesting to think about. Dear Darkside Phil, I'm a longtime fan, I absolutely love your gaming videos as well as all your other videos. My question of today is, when you finished college and started a job, you wanted to get an apartment, right? So how did you get enough money to get a good apartment, plus, how did you get enough money to furnish it with lots of cool things, like a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, other things like appliances, technology, things that were needed. And that is from, this person actually knew that I was going to say their name wrong, so I apologize in advance. I guess Sinisa Yeah, Sinisa Nikolic or Nikolic. I'm not sure. I apologize. I know I said that wrong. When I did get my apartment, first of all, I actually, at the job I had at that time, I had a big boost in pay from the previous job, so I kind of had a lot of money on my hands. But my advice to you, if you're looking for an apartment and you really don't have a lot of money, roommates, roommates, roommates. My apartment was not my own. It was a 3-bedroom apartment, and I had 2 roommates who were actually co-workers at my job, and between the 3 of us, we were able to afford it, and actually it came pre-furnished, which was awesome. The previous people who had lived there had actually kept the furnishings there for us, so we basically just moved in and the furnishings were already there and we were good to go. So it all worked out. So yeah, roommates. That's my advice to everyone. Find roommates. It makes things a lot cheaper to share the responsibility. Really quick, a lot of people ask me about what are my feelings about Osama bin Laden finally being captured and actually killed by SEAL Team 6 this past week. You know, do I condone the killing of anyone? No, absolutely not. However, there are some circumstances, obviously, that need to be taken into account here. The fact that this guy led a terror organization that basically killed thousands upon thousands of people, ruined the lives of not only people who he terrorized, but the people who he brainwashed. Because the bottom line is it was brainwashing. And one thing that I do want to clarify before I really give my opinion here is that it's not the Muslim religion. It is not anything to do with something like that. And by the way, not everyone is innocent here. I would like to say, think back to the Crusades, when the same fucking thing happened. Yeah, that's right. Back in the Crusades, I love all these people who are Christians, who love to act high and mighty like they're innocent and they're the good guys. Remember the Crusades, when basically Europe went into these Arab countries and killed all the Muslims, and the reason that they said that they were doing it was, we want to convert them to Christianity, when the real reason behind it was they wanted their land. Yeah, that wasn't too good either. And I just hate the whole idea of these holy wars and things that are fought over religion. That wasn't what religion is. It's not what it was created for. That's not the purpose of it. It's basically bastardizing the reason, the good intentions behind religion, and turning it into something violent. So, and by no means do I ever condone violence on behalf of religion, and therefore, obviously I don't condone the Crusades, and I did not condone anything that Osama bin Laden did. It's about time we got him. It's been 10 fucking years. I think it should have been done a lot quicker than it was done. But the bottom line is, it was kind of found out that some people were like touting it and saying, you can never catch him, and he's living the high life and all that. When it come to find out, he wasn't. He was living in caves the whole time. He was cowering behind his wife, using her as a hostage. He was a coward. And that's the kind of person, I guess, that would do the kind of things that he did. And am I happy that someone died? No. Am I happy that he's gone and that there's a major threat gone? Yes. So I do have mixed feelings. I don't like how they're kind of touting it on TV. He's dead, he's dead, he's dead. Yeah, shit on his grave, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of fucked up. But at the same time, good riddance to bad rubbish. Let's put it that way. Okay? And again, any time you turn religion into something crazy that is not meant to be and it leads to violence, that's wrong. And that's what Osama did. That's what thousands of people have done throughout since the beginning of time, and it needs to stop. The end of it, I'm glad it's like closing the door on a bad decade, a decade of fear. I think the decade of fear is finally over, and we can finally move on with our lives, and I'm happy at least for that much. Okay, that was a heavy question, I know. Let's move on. Hey DSP. You're always complaining about how bad the customer service is on YouTube. Well, have you ever considered applying for a job as a customer service advisor from them? That's from Mr. Anderson. You know, it's kind of hard to apply for a job that doesn't exist. This is what I've been saying. YouTube has no customer support. They have a forum where you post, and rarely someone will respond. There is no job to apply for that, and therefore, it is kind of a silly question. Okay, this next question is heavy too. It's a long one. It's regarding fighting games, so I warn you. I'm going to try to do it quickly, and then I got a couple Twitter questions to answer, and then we'll be all done. I'm going to summarize the question, because it was actually asked by Divine Elements and also by Phantom Ryu. It's a two-parter. Here's what recently happened. This past weekend, there was a tournament in Ohio. It was called Power Up. It was a qualifying tournament for EVO World Finals, which is the nationals of fighting games in America. So if you placed at this tournament, you got points, and the points would help you with your seeding in the brackets at EVO World. And a couple controversial things happened. First of all, Justin Wong, in the Super Street Fighter 4 tournament, asked the tournament organizer to actually, near the end of the tournament, we're not talking early on the first 2 rounds, he asked the tournament organizer near the end of the tournament to play one person over another. He was supposed to play Wolf Crone, who's probably hands down the best Super Street Fighter 4 player in the country. He asked to play Inthul, who's not as good. And the tournament organizer said, sure, and he floated Justin from one side of the bracket to the other and let him play the easier player. That's extremely controversial, okay? That's part 1. Part 2, in the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Losers Finals, it was Justin Wong against his Noel. Now, if you don't know Noel Brown, he's a player from New York. He was formerly Justin Wong's roommate. So they're really good friends. They know each other for a while. And what ended up happening was, during this match, Justin picked a team that he never picks. He picked characters that he's never picked before in a tournament. He's not familiar with them. Ended up throwing the match. He actually started the match with Phoenix, who's a character who no one ever starts with, because that's not how she's meant to be played. She's meant to be placed third, so that at the end of the match, when you have 5 levels, she turns into Dark Phoenix and becomes a really strong force. So Justin starts with Phoenix. He's picking Super Skrull, who he never picks in tournament. And then he loses a couple matches. He goes to his main team, but then ends up losing the match overall. Well, there was all this controversy because people are saying basically Justin Wong threw the match so that Noel could win and get more ranking points and do better at EVO. And it's all kind of controversy here, saying, how could you allow a major player to throw a match like that? That's not fair, that you're basically handing qualifier points to Noel, who really didn't earn them fairly, and what's going on here. I'm going to make this short and sweet because I've been in the tournament scene for quite a long time. It's been happening since day 1. Since the first tournament I ever fucking went to, shit gets rigged. It's that simple. The top players find a way to rig stuff so that they keep winning. I've seen it since day 1. Whether it's West Coast tournaments where the brackets are rigged and all of a sudden all the East Coast people are playing each other and eliminating each other out of the event. That's kind of fishy, don't you think? The guy who I play, who lives a mile away from me, I have to play him in this tournament that I flew to California to play in. That's kind of fishy. I've seen illegal floating hundreds of times in tournaments. People, oh yeah, well if you don't want to play him, don't worry about it, dude. You're a top player and I'm just a tournament organizer and I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that you say that my tournament was great, so I'm going to float you wherever you want. I've seen that before. And yeah, I've seen people throw matches repeatedly. I've seen in tournaments, and this used to happen before Street Fighter 4 came out and really Street Fighter became as big as it is right now, people used to just not even play the finals. They used to say, let's just split. And this happened with Justin, this happened with Ricky Ortiz, this happened with multiple people. They would say, we don't feel like playing the finals, we'll just split the pot, and it'll be a tie. And tournament organizers would allow it. They're out of their minds, but they would allow it, and that's bullshit. And at any tournament that I ever ran, I've never allowed that. I've never floated people after, say, the first couple of rounds, unless there was really a strong reason for it. And yeah, it's just not fair. It's preferential treatment. It's unfair. It shouldn't happen. Now, the reason that there's so much controversy here is because EVO, in particular, I believe it was Tony Cannon, who was in charge of EVO, basically penalized Justin Wong. After he heard that this had happened, he watched the footage, he deemed that it was an illegal move by Justin Wong, and he really did throw the losers finals against Noel Brown. He issued a yellow card to Justin, which means that if Justin pulls this again before EVO, he's banned from EVO. And he also docked Justin all of his qualifier points for that event, so basically Justin gets no points. Now, it doesn't really affect anything because Justin has a shit ton of points from other tournaments he's attended anyway. Plus, Noel was allowed to keep his points, which is kind of ridiculous, but I don't agree with that, but whatever. It's interesting that EVO made that ruling, because it looks like they are trying to take themselves pretty seriously. However, I have to say, at this point, I kind of have to call foul because I've seen preferential treatment and stuff happen at EVO itself, not particularly in the past 5 years, but when it first started and it was more of a grassroots movement, I saw a lot of preferential stuff go down. So I kind of have to call, hypocrite there, but at least maybe EVO is moving towards a more legitimate format, and they realize that they can't really look legitimate if they allow people to pull that kind of stuff in their own qualifier series. On the flip side of all this, it's just a fucking game, and it's hilarious that people are taking this so seriously. Again, you know, I play games, I'm having fun, and I found a way to make money off of, and support myself off of just having fun. These guys take this shit so seriously that they have to ask for illegal floats, they have to rig finals. I mean, give me a fucking break. This is why I think this competitive gaming at this point is kind of getting ridiculous, but I digress. I think it's a sad situation that Justin's pulling this kind of shit. He doesn't need to. He knows it's wrong. He's still asking for preferential treatment, which is absolutely ridiculous. He should win off of the skill of his own merits. So whatever, I don't know. I'm really disappointed in him. But it is what it is. When he's living off of this, I guess he has to kind of pull this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's fucked up that it happened, and it shouldn't happen in the future. I am glad that Tony kind of stepped up and did that. Alright, now a couple Twitter questions to end the episode. First question from Comcast. It's actually spelled not Comcast like the cable, but it's Camcaste. And he says, what's your opinion on Mass Effect 3 being delayed until 2012? If you haven't heard, the news came out this week that the game will be delayed till the first quarter of 2012. I'm happy. Yeah, I know you're probably surprised to hear me say that, but I am happy about this because it means that they're taking their time to make a quality product and they're not trying to rush it. Basically, this will now push it into the first quarter. It'll be 2 full years since Mass Effect 2 came out, and hopefully the game will be all the more better for it since they're not rushing to push the game out for a 4th quarter release. I'm happy about this announcement, and I'm really looking forward to the game. Plus, the bottom line was there's so many other blockbuster sequels coming out the 4th quarter this year. Better to give it its own slot in the first quarter of 2012 rather than to get overshadowed by something else. Next question is from Triple Maniac 24. He says, when you were in college, did you ever believe you would become a YouTube sensation or have as many fans worldwide as you do? Well, when I was in college, YouTube didn't exist, okay? It was that long ago. But did I ever think I would have as many fans as I do? Absolutely not. As I've said since day one, this is an amazing thing. I think that I'm the exception to the rule, that I've been able to be successful and that I am as popular as I am. But I'm enjoying every minute of it, and I'm riding this wave of popularity and positivity, and I thank everyone who watches my videos and supports me for everything. It's just great. It's a great feeling, and I'm just going to keep going. Alright, next question is from Cold Sned, okay? And he says, what are your thoughts on the music game genre, its effect on gaming, and its current fall from grace? Very good question. If you haven't heard, Guitar Hero has been canceled. It is completely kaput. Harmonix was sold off, and the music game industry right now, which just a couple of years ago was booming and gigantic, one of the most profitable things ever in the gaming industry, is dead and buried. My opinion on it, it's because these game makers were overzealous. They got greedy. They got so fucking greedy. The first Guitar Hero was a smash hit. They didn't expect it to be. Guitar Hero 2 was a smash hit. They didn't expect it to be. And at that point they said, that's it. Here comes the money train. Every year we're going to release new peripherals, a new music game, and then it got to the point where Guitar Hero was releasing multiple games a year, but they weren't even worthy retail releases. Like, who wants to buy, you know, just Aerosmith, or just one particular band as a retail release? Make those DLCs. Don't make them retail games and retail releases and stuff like that. And it got to the point where it got over bloated, and people stopped buying it because there was too much. It oversaturated the market because they became so greedy. If they were smart, what they would have done is said, okay, we're going to feed people just enough so that the demand stays at the level it's at. So once a year, we're going to have a major retail release with new peripherals, guitars, whatever, keyboards, drums, and then we'll have DLCs over the course of the year that will promote. Instead, they went all fucking out. They released way too much stuff, and it just crashed, burned, and failed, and it's done. And that's what happens when you get greedy. You ruin an idea, and that's exactly what they did. They oversaturated the market, they ruined the idea, and now they're all fucking fired. So, oh well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Alright, the last question is from Philippines. And the question is, Phil, do you plan to go abroad soon? You have many fans outside the US, like in Brazil and Europe. And the answer to that is, right now I'm just trying to branch out to the local scene. So, for example, the Too Many Games gaming convention that I'm going to in Oaks, Pennsylvania this weekend, that's a major way for me to start branching out. And if the interest continues, there is potential that eventually I'll start doing stuff international. But for now, I'd like to branch out in the U.S., maybe start going to, you know, Too Many Games, ConnecticCon, some other major gaming events and things like that, meeting the fans, hanging out, having fun, getting my name out there in the convention scene, and then growing from there. So again, thank you everyone for your questions. If you can make it to Too Many Games this weekend at Oaks, Pennsylvania, I know I'm pushing this hard, but I really want a lot of people to come and just enjoy the convention and enjoy, hanging out. Again, anything you want to bring, you want me to sign, I'd gladly sign. And I hope you'll also attend the panel from 4 to 5 p.m. So check it out, toomanygames.com. Again, I'll put that link in the description of the video. So that's it for this week's edition of Ask the King. I'm DSP, and I'll see you guys next time.